Okay. In the previous video, the N was not correct. I don't know. I'm not so much tech savvy. Okay. So suddenly there one message comes and everything gone. Okay. So I'm repeating it again. If here I have written something like that. If only force in the question they ask only force, then what I have to do? I have to calculate both magnitude as well as direction. Both I have to calculate. Okay, both the things I need to calculate. So now a very important part is this. Most of the time we face this kind of things. That is when we have more than two vectors. That means force or electric field. More than two. Now how to deal with the more than two? For example, we have three forces F1, F2, F3 and F2. F1, F3, F2. Okay. Now what to do? How to find the net force in these cases? All the three forces are in different directions. Okay. So in these cases, what we do? Your job is to resolve the vectors. Okay, and then convert into two vectors. Resolve the vectors and convert into two vectors. Now for resolution, we need axes. So your first job is to make the axis. So I'm considering this as one axis. I'm considering this as another axis. Okay. And we need to calculate these angles, theta 1 and theta 2. Okay. Now the question is, okay, we need to resolve the force. Now which forces to resolve? Don't start resolving every forces. Take into consideration the axis which you have taken. See which forces you have to observe, which forces are not on the axis. F2 and F3 here. These two forces are not on the axis, but F1 is on the axis. That means the forces which are not on the axis, that you have to resolve. Okay, the forces which is on the axis, you don't have to resolve that. So F1 we don't have to resolve, you have to resolve F2 and F3. So if I resolve F2, we will get F2 cos theta 1 here, F2 sin theta 1 here. Similarly F3, if I resolve F3 cos theta 2 here, F3 sin theta 2 we have here. Okay. Now, after resolving, you have to observe only y-axis and x-axis. Don't observe anything else. If you check out the y-axis, at the top, you have F1, and towards the downward, we have two forces. They are in the same direction, so we can add them. F3 sin theta 2 plus Ft sin theta 1. Okay. Since they are in the same direction, we can add. Now along the x-axis, we have F3 cos theta 2 and we have F2 cos theta 1. Now what's the next job? Now next job is see whether now this we got a straight line case here now. After resolving, we considered only on the x-axis and on the y-axis. Fine. Now check out the y-axis. Upward we have one force, downward we have one force. Now see which one is greater. This is greater or this is greater. If this is greater, this minus this. If this is greater, this minus this. So for the timing here, I am taking the case F1 is greater than F2. F1 is greater than this, not F2, this. So net force upward will be F1 minus. This is the first case we have studied, straight line case. I am doing that thing. This is a straight line, one force is upward, one force is downward. We imagining the upward force is more, so this minus this. And direction towards the upward because upward force is more. Okay, in your exam, you may face the downward force is more. So down minus up. Similarly, along x-axis, I am imagining this force is more. So I am considering it as F2 cos theta 1 minus F3 cos theta 2. This minus this. And towards the bigger. So I am considering this whole as F4 and this whole as F5. Okay. Now see what I did now. We have initially three forces. We resolved it. We converted these three forces into two forces F4 and F5. Now we have two force case, two vector case. Two vectors making some angle. Two vectors F4, F5 making some angle 90. So how to find this? So what is net force now? Under root F4 square, F5 square, 2 F4, F5 cos 90 because angle is 90 between these two. Okay, so this becomes 0. So we got cos 90 is 0. So we left with F4 square plus F5 square. Okay, and the net force will be somewhere in between. This is F4 and this is F5. So now we need to find the direction. So what is direction? Direction is the angle of the net with any one of the given vector. So I am finding the beta angle. You can find the alpha also. So what is tan beta? Beta is the angle with F5. So in the denominator we have F5 plus F4 cos 90, F4 sin 90. Okay. Now we have a special case of this three vectors making some angles. Okay. That is called as Lami's law, which basically students prefer. Okay. And it's shortcut, that's why we prefer it. Okay, it's very shortcut, it's a shortcut form of doing. But there is a problem. The problem is that this Lami's law is valid only for equilibrium state. Equilibrium state means what? Net force 0. That means this is valid only for forces, not for electric field. We cannot use this for electric field. But this method we can use in electric field also. Okay, so this is the fundamental method. But this is very conditional method. These conditions need to be satisfied. Equilibrium state होना चाहिए, net force 0 होना चाहिए, और सिर्फ force ही होना चाहिए. दूसरा वेक्टर के लिए काम नहीं करेगा. ठीक है? So net force 0, equilibrium state होना चाहिए. Okay, and a very important part, only 3 forces होना चाहिए. 3 से कम हुआ नहीं लगा सकते, 3 से ज्यादा हुआ नहीं लगा सकते. So they see why I'm saying this is a conditional thing, because there's so many conditions you need to use here. You need to see that these conditions satisfy the question or not. But if you understand how to choose a particular question for going to Lami's law, then solving Lami's law is very easy. Huh? So now let's take the same case F1, F2, F3. Like this is theta 1, this is theta 2, and this is theta 3. Now we have a body which is acted by 3 forces. Only 3 forces. Only force. Such that the body is in equilibrium. Condition लिखा होगा question में that the body is at equilibrium. जैसे body equilibrium में है और 3 force लग रहा है, तब मैं Lami's law लगा सकता हूँ. Okay? लेकिन equilibrium में होना बहुत जरूरी है. Okay? Net force 0. Rest. ये सब बोल लिखा होगा. ठीक है? तब Lami's law क्या बोलता है? Lami's law बोलता है force by sin of फोर्स F1 बाकी दोनों फोर्स के बीच का जो एंगल है वो वाला एंगल यहाँ होगा इक्वल्स टू F2 बाकी दो फोर्स के बीच का जो एंगल है वो वाला एंगल यहाँ होगा sin थीटा 2 इक्वल्स टू F3 बाकी दो फोर्सेस के बीच का जो एंगल है that angle will be that is what force by sin of angle between other two forces equals to force by sin of angle between other two forces. Force by sin of angle between other two forces. Force by sine of angle between other two forces. Okay? Okay.